With the announcement of the Sylas single-player game that I'm undoubtedly going to play as I have already pre-ordered it, I figured what better time is there to make a recap on Sylas Story than now. But just making a normal-ass recap reading out the story would be boring, so I tried to make it a bit funny. Well, tell me if I succeeded. The story of Sylas begins with being born with the ability to see magic around him. His family was poor, but somehow still very patriotic like 90% of Americans. So, smoking some of that OG Mageseeker kush, decided it would be a good idea to hand Sylas over to the Mageseekers. Surely they would treat him well and nothing would go wrong, right? Well, nothing did go wrong, for like a minute or so. It started out with Sylas identifying mages for them and feeling useful by essentially selling out his comrades. But doubts about how justice mission was came creeping in all too quickly. Because only the poor and less fortunate were actually convicted, while the rich and powerful, despite Sylas clearly seeing their magic, got off scot-free. I am starting to see some parallels here. Anyway, his doubts finally bloom into a full-on racial magical conflict when he meets a poor young frightened mage and, taking pity on her, tries to protect her from his Mageseeker companions, accidentally roasting them in the process, quite literally. Now on the run from the Mageseekers, I don't know how these keep getting into my script. He gained a reputation as Sylas of Dragbone, one of the most dangerous mages around. After being on the run for an unknown amount of time, he was caught, according to him, by a crown guard, one of Garen's oversized shoulder pauldron-wearing family members, and imprisoned in a special solitary dungeon bound by patricide shackles where he was kept for years, if not decades. Fun fact, according to him, he had to resort to eating rats to survive, and yet somehow retained the chiseled physique of Arnold in his prime, probably manifesting muscle by pure class struggle-fueled anger. Either way, Sylas rots in prison, giving him plenty of time to plan his revolution. Until finally one person, Luxana Crown Guard, aka Lux, is like, maybe it is wrong to lock people up simply for being born a mage, probably because she's a dirty mage herself. Anyways, she meets Sylas out of sympathy and he immediately calls her out for being a mage, sending her into fight or flight. She chose flight. Worried Sylas will tell people her secret, she came back to him though. Seeing his chance of freedom in the form of a stupid and naive young noble, Sylas summons all the riz and gaslighting skills he can muster, which is a lot considering he was supposedly in solitary confinement for years, turning into the dreaded riz lighter. Lux falls right into his trap and, after learning how to control her magic from him, feeds him information on how patricide works, in particular, the fact that it doesn't disable magic but simply stores it for later usage, something Sylas, who has the ability to use other people's magic, finds most intriguing. But like so many good gaslighting relationships, it comes to an end when the family of the gaslighted steps in. In this particular case, Garen and Lux's aunt forbids Lux from seeing Sylas again and orders his immediate execution, which I suppose is the Demacian noble equivalent of the dad taking a shotgun to his daughter's boyfriend. But alas, Lux just couldn't sit by and let her beautifully toxic relationship go to waste, so she used her magic to tear down a wall in her room and go see Sylas on the execution scaffold, pleading for his life, only to be called a, and I quote, mage lover by the crowd. At this point the script just writes itself. The Mageseeker refuses her plea and sets out to execute him, but Lux, being the genius young lady she is, fights her way out of the soldier's grasp to have one last touching moment with her pure and innocent lover boy, that Sylas promptly uses to absorb her magic, free himself of his chains and kill everyone inside except Lux. But hey, he apologized, I'm sure he didn't mean it, he was just angry and it won't happen again, I swear. And Garen comes running in to save his little sister and starts fighting with Sylas, but unfortunately doesn't know that Sylas has 10 million power in Rise of Kingdoms and gets blasted by the magic Sylas stole from his own patricide sword, sending him to the sweet land of dreams. Meanwhile, Sylas, after freeing his imprisoned brothers and sisters, takes off from the execution site. The city is now in turmoil. Everyone is trying to keep the mages from leaving the city, including Sylas. Our favorite Rizzler is one step ahead, and while everyone is watching the exits, thinking the mages will flee the city, Lux realizes his real plan, attacking the palace to go after the king. Since the palace is fortified with patricide storing centuries worth of magic, Sylas has an easy time subduing Javan IV, real original naming sense in that family by the way, and goes off to capture the king too, for a public execution. To everyone's surprise, however, the king is already dead and no one knows who did it. Well, can't have a public execution without someone to execute, so the fourth one instead of the third one will do. Sylas insists on not being a savage, however, and wants to give him a public trial. The trial, however, does not go too well for J4. And nope, I didn't edit this video is basically writing itself at this point. What Sylas, however, doesn't know is that while he is gloating and trying to feed J4 rats, By the way, I heard rats are a great source of protein. Garen's aunt is waking him up from his slumber by telling him his base in Clash of Clans is being raided by a Chinese guy. And Lux is preparing to save J4 by getting rid of her magic and entering the full-on mage rebellion with a crossbow. And I thought we saw the worst of her stupidity. To everyone's profound shock, Lux fails, but Garen arrives to save the day again, and Garen vs Sylas round 2 starts. Except this time, Sylas' ult is on cooldown I guess, so he loses the one-on-one and flees the city. J4 wants to chase down Sylas, but Garen reminds him not to greed for a kill, since his team, his country, needs him alive, and Sylas flees with the mages. Knowing he alone won't have the power necessary to take Demacia down, Sylas ventured north into the icy Freljord, searching for new companions and ancient magic powers to help him in his rebellion. And that is it. All we know about Sylas and his funny little mage rebellion so far. I'm definitely hyped for the game and will be streaming it on YouTube probably daily until I finish it, so if you want to see some top tier commentary and gameplay, subscribe to my channel. That's it from me folks, have a good day.